Hello everyone, Greymerk here, and I'm going to do more Python today. It's been nice, people have been asking me for more of this, so and I've been wanting to do more. I've just been sidetracked with other things, and so I'm just trying to remember what I was doing. It's been like about a month, and you know, I haven't actually done any Python in quite some time, so this is kind of cool. So I thought, yeah, you know, there's a lot of different things I could do. I've been thinking, though, to start off with, maybe it'd be good, while this code base is obviously, you know, really tiny, that I could just get started with some ideas around, you know, organizing. So that's what I'm going to start doing. First of all, I'm just going to call this, every file, like every actual Python file, is usually referred to as a module. So I'm going to call this module main, and I'm going to create a new module to put the box in. The box, well, of course, I should rename that. And that's a part of the whole code cleanup thing. You know, you wind up with stupidly named stuff because you change your ideas around, and you know. So this turned into a ball. I guess here, let's just take a look at it, and we can sort of think about. So we've got this now. It's like a ball. So yeah, sure, why not? Why don't we just call it a ball? I'm probably going to regret that later, but it doesn't matter because we can just change things again. So I'm going to create a new file here, ball.py. It's going to ask me if I want to change the extension. Yes, I do. So I'm going to open this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the ball class here. Okay, I'm going to rename it to ball, and then what do we got? So now what we're going to have to do is go back in here and change some stuff. So when you're using a module in your main program, whatever it is you're actually running, it's going to be the main. You have to do an import to bring in objects or anything from other files, and the way to do that, the traditional way, is to go from the name of your module, in this case ball, and then whatever you want to import into what's in Python is called a namespace. And so that just means in the scope of this program, I want something called, I want to bring ball in. So that may not make much sense the way I explained it, but it's sort of a Python thing. So now we can refer to ball as if it's in this file, is kind of what it means. And what's interesting, actually, I believe you can actually do imports anywhere, but it's usually best to do it at the top. Yeah, so we're going to have to say ball anywhere that we said box. Ball. Is that it? I think so. Let's try it again and see if it runs. No. All right. How do I open this with? Dang it. Let's just desktop. You have to kind of go into command line to get the. I need to see the errors, so I'm gonna remember to go into. What is it? Games episode 2. Oh yeah, you don't need to do ./main. .py. Okay, what do we got? We have global name Pygame is not defined. What the heck? Oh, right, okay. That's in the ball class. So we've sort of created yeah. Let's go over here. What are we calling? We're saying Pygame. Yeah. So anytime we're referencing the Pygame, like some other namespace in another module, in this case it's the Pygame library, we need to put it in the file we're using it. So there we go, that should do it. There we go, it's working again. And so we haven't actually changed anything in the game, but we've made it a bit tidier in here. Now, obviously, you know, I'm not really trying to do this. Like, my final objective isn't to create a bunch of balls flying around, but you know, maybe in the game that we're making in this breakout game, we're gonna have multiple balls. Let's just assume that for the time being, because I want to deal with this thing. What we're doing here is we're creating a ball, we're creating another ball, we're creating another ball. So what I want to do is I want to actually condense all of this into a module, like into an idea. So in the ball module, I'm going to create another class. I'm going to create a ball manager. Class ball manager object. Def init self. You know, when you create a new object, you can just put in pass just to make Python make it valid. So it's gonna contain, like, I'm gonna say right out here, I actually don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm making this up as I go. So that's part of the fun of this. I'm doing that on purpose because I just want to sort of I'm playing with Python, essentially, is what I'm doing. So I know that this ball manager is going to be a list of balls. Like, that's what it is. It's an abstraction for just having a list of balls. So we're going to say there's no types in Python. I'm going to have to get myself out of this Java mindset that I've got myself locked into now, because I've been doing a lot of Java lately. So just a balls equals new list. Sure, you know, that's all you have to do to create a list in Python. And we're just gonna have but I'm not going, what I want to do is I want to sort of I don't want to be directly manipulating the contents of this thing. I want to make it abstract, so I'm going to have like def add ball, and this is going to have to give it a ball, and then it's just going to be balls dot, what is the method in lists? It's like dot, I think it's append ball, no semicolon, no. Def move ball self ball dot I think you remove an element from a list. I'm just gonna actually fill this. I'm gonna have to look up a few things, and I'll be back when I get this all sorted out, and I'll explain the bits and pieces. Okay, well, this is getting smaller. So now I have a ball manager. I can just say spawn ball, spawn ball, spawn ball, and then I have a loop in here that says for all the balls in the ball manager, just update it and draw. So that's doing it for all the ones that are in there. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit rusty, I think. All kinds of little stupid mistakes that I've been making today. So in here there's a, yeah, again, you know, it's this self idiom, which just means like attach this thing to the object so that you know, I can reference it in other functions. So what I did is I decided to make a spawn ball method, and what that does is it just creates a new ball and uses a random module to select the color. So there's the red, green, and blue new colors from 0 to 255. And then set the color on the ball that's being created here, and pick a random position on the screen, and then just append the new ball to this list of balls. And then there's a thing down here that's a little bit probably confusing to understand and confusing to explain. What it is it's every Python is kind of cool. Like everything, there's a lot of sort of flexibility and coherency around the idea of being able to go through a list of stuff. So in this case, the balls, you know, a list of balls has the ability for you to be able to say, give me all of the items in this list in a series so that I can work on them one by one. And what I want is for this object to have the same property. I want to be able to go through the list of the ball manager abstractly and just say, like, give me all of the balls in the ball manager. And so to do that, I'm just forwarding the iterator for the balls list there to whoever needs it. And in this case, it's needed by this for loop. So without putting that in there, without putting return the iterator for the loop, then I wouldn't be able to do this for loop on the balls class or object. So let's just see it at work here. There you go. So there's the 3 balls, the ones that are created up here and then being acted on in this loop. So there's some cool stuff that we can do now that we have that in place. So I'm going to add another clause to this, to these events. I'm going to say see if I can get this right. Elif e.key equals k underscore s balls dot spawn ball. I don't see any good reason why this won't work, so I'm just gonna, yeah, balls dot spawn ball. Okay, let's just try it. Ooh, there we go. I'm hitting S, making lots of balls happen. Oh, that's pretty cool. So I can just fill the screen up with little balls. Oh man, that's just mind warping to look at. So yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about having about shoving it all into a manager class, is that then you can you can do crazy stuff like that. Like you get so much more power by using a manager class than just by like typing in all of like hard coding stuff. And that's just like a rule in general about you know, encapsulating ideas so that so that they can be used more flexibly. So I don't even need these anymore. I could actually just get rid of this and just run this again. So I have nothing on the stage, and then I can start hitting S and spawn all the balls that I want. Anyway, what was the last thing? There's something else I wanted to do, and I think I'll just cut it off there. What have we got? We've got this ball manager class. I do need to do collision at some point. And oh, I wanted to put all of this whole idea, all of this input stuff into its own class. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got this even more pared down, and this is lovely. This is when you start. This is what organizing code, to me anyway. This is what organizing code is all about. It's about making your program smaller and smaller at the high level. When you're thinking conceptually, you want it to be like your main program really should just be like one line, and all of your higher level classes should be really small. But in this case, we're still paring it down, and we're still throwing in new ideas and stuff. So all of the event handling stuff is gone. It's now been distilled into player.handleInput, and I'm making it return whether or not the player has requested the game to finish. So if this is set to false, then that means continue. If it's set to true, that means it'll fall out and end the program. So in here, see, it enters this thing here, and if it's a quit that's requested, it returns true. If it's a queue that was hit, then it returns true. Otherwise, then it adds balls to the balls there, spawn ball. You notice also that player has as one of its members, it has an object. It actually knows. Yeah, when the player object is created up here in main, player, it's given a reference to this to this ball manager instance. Because, I mean, in analogy, you could say that the player, in order to play the game, the player being, the agency, the person playing, has to know about the balls in order to be able to play. I mean, it's almost like an intuitive thing. You're kind of, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you need to tell it about the balls so that it can manipulate them. And without that, you wouldn't be able to actually do anything with this list of balls. So that's all there is to that, really. This isn't. It's worth mentioning, in case this is kind of confusing, that this isn't a copy of the list of balls that's created. Like here we're creating. This is actually where something is being created. This is where memory is being set aside, a new list of balls is being created, and whatnot. And it's given an address, and this word balls here is sort of standing in for it. But what we're doing is we're just passing that address, and then the player here is holding on to that address. So it's not a copy, it's actually just another reference to it. So it's able to then act on that object. So it's the same one. So when we go down here and we iterate through the list, then it's actually just acting on the same list. So I guess let's run it, and you can see then that it is actually it's behaving the same way it was before. Cool. And there is one last thing that I thought we could do that, there's always one last thing. But I just like the idea of actually turning this into balls dot draw. Just, why don't we just say, draw the whole list of balls instead of being instead of leaving all of this detail about how that's done in here. So we could actually just go in here and down in the ball class, we can say def draw. Oops. Self. And just change that to self. And that should be it. We could actually just let's just try that. Let's see how we go. Oops. Draw. I forgot to put surface in the parameters for that method. There we go. And here we are. So we've abstracted something else. Now we're just saying, you know, look at that. So fill in the surface, draw the balls, get user input. We could probably put this before that if it's more clear. It doesn't really matter which order they go in, but you know, let's say get user input, draw all the balls, and then flip the display. That just means actually like actually draw the objects onto the screen. It's kind of funny when you're doing all this stuff and you're doing all this what they call blitting of images together into the surface. That isn't actually doing anything to the screen yet. All it's doing is manipulating a whole bunch of in-memory images, and then when you call this is actually what's doing the real work of sending the images to the graphics card and all that. So just a little aside about what this is here for. And so we've gotten this, yeah, that's pretty small. So that's kind of, I actually spend a lot of time doing stuff like this when I'm writing code, is just thinking about like how to organize the bits and pieces, not really necessarily what it's doing. I guess what I do is I jump back and forth. I think like, you know, I do a whole bunch of like rough throwing stuff together and just, you know, getting things to work, and then I maybe go into conceptual mode and think like, you know, how can I organize this sensibly so that when I come back to do more with it, then I'll be able to kind of understand it all. Because you could easily see that if this was all jumbled into one single huge procedural mess, like if it was just all in one page, then you could get confused pretty quickly. But you know, here, you know, this is great because this is all that's really happening in this program, is all encapsulated in like, you know, whatever 10 lines of code. So it's easy to think about. Anyway, so I think maybe next time what I'd like to do is tackle the ball mechanics, like the actual, like this is really dumb. Like this is like the most simple kind of thing you could possibly do to work, but I'd like to sort of get into a little bit about collisions and vector mechanics and all that kind of stuff, because that's new to me. Like, I mean, you know, other than high school physics, I don't really know much about vectors and so forth, so collisions and whatnot, so we could have some fun with that. I was even thinking about like friction and stuff, and so anyway, I hope this was enjoyable, and I'll see you next time.